start contacting your folks this week, where you start picking up the phone, sending emails and saying, I am so-and-so, I'm a voter, I'm a taxpayer, you are my representative, and here's what I want to talk to you about. I'd like 5 minutes on the phone, if you'd like to meet for coffee, whatever it is, let's start getting it through to them that, oh, this is an issue, this isn't going to go away. And we can let them know we're going to be at the Board of Commissioners meeting in February, and every meeting thereafter until we see action.
And I think if everybody here commits to maybe signing up 10 people to a voting block, and those 10 people commit, this can grow.
Oh, it's huge.
And if we sit here today and say, okay, we're all gonna show up, I'll take time off.
Yep.
Okay, I'm gonna show up at the commissioners meeting.
We had what I would like to refer to as a show of public support when the county controller and our former director flip-flopped their policies in an overnight vote between just the two of them, refusing to allow people in on the weekends to see the animals. I mean, it was epic. And I was involved in that, and we put the word on the street, and we had over 200 people show up at their commissioners meeting, and they were shocked.
Oh, it's huge. I mean, they just freaked right out, like, whoa. Just when they know that we're watching them, they freak out a little bit, because they're not used to it. They're used to being able to do their thing, they go home, and it's all this kind of real quiet hush-hush, because we're all really busy, and a lot of us don't even know how it all works, you know? Unless there's an issue that is important to us, and animal issues are one that really get people to stand up and get out of the living room and take some action, and that's what you guys are going to need. Carrie, will you start passing around the sign-up sheet? She's going to pass around this is how you sign up for your voting block.
If we sign up on the computer, do we need to sign up on the?
Same thing, yeah, same thing.
I signed up on the
Some
computer.
of us have been pegged as crazy animal people already and contacted our commissioner several times, and our friends are some crazy people.
Yes, we have.
So contacting them for a few of us is.
We're gonna identify ourselves right now. I'm crazy. I'm crazy.
I know the crazy.
We've been called bullies, we've been called every whatever, you know, and I got your attention, so
For
we're
those
you
of
know.
you who may not know it, I'm the administrator of Friends to Save the Animal Shelter in Saginaw.
So she's really crazy.
I'm public enemy number one.
Yes.
And, you know, I guess the one way to find out what's going on with these gals too, I'm sharing everything they're doing on that page, so.
We're actually videotaping today too. Amanda is videotaping for us.
Yeah, and we'll post that for the folks that weren't able to make it today. And you know, and I'm glad you brought that up, because that's a really important part of this is we are a 6-member board of trustees for a PAC that operates across the entire state of Michigan. It is essential that we have captains for every county that keep us informed of what's going on. So we have a captain of Oakland County, we have a captain of Saginaw County.
I just elected myself.
Beautiful. And her job is to keep us informed of what's going on. We are here to help, you know, we hit a brick wall, what do we do now? Keep us informed, and that's our kind of flow of communication. Now, beyond that, we need city coordinators. So those are the people, give me names of towns in Saginaw County.
Bridgeport.
There you go. We need a coordinator for Bridgeport. That person either goes to the city council meetings, and quite frankly, a lot of them are online or on public television. You don't have to leave your living room, you watch it on TV, and you're looking for any issue raised that has to do with animals. And it's farm animals, it's wildlife, and it's our pets. And so what you do is suddenly, you know, a city council person says, I want to introduce an ordinance that, you know, nobody can have a pit bull, nobody can have a Rottweiler, nobody can have a whatever. That coordinator gets a hold of your county captain and says, we got a problem in Bridgeport, they're talking about this. Then we mobilize, and next thing they know, we're in front of them going, hi, we're the Michigan Political Action Committee for Animals, we're here to help you, you know, create laws that your community wants, and if you don't, you're going to look for a new job in November. We're here to work with you. So if you're interested in taking on your municipality at the township or city level, let us know. It's the only way we have a flow of information to know what's going on and get in front of something before it's, you know, becomes a law or an actual ordinance. So if you're interested, let us know. Having a county captain is huge. That really keeps us our thumb right on everything because there's just a lot going on in the state, which is a good thing. There's a conference in September that's deals with this kind of stuff about shelter reform, about getting your shelter to no-kill, about different programs and how to get involved and everything. So if you're not aware of Michigan Pet Fund Alliance, check out their website or check them out on Facebook. Their conference is really good. It talks about everything kind of in a nutshell that we're dealing with, especially shelter reform. go ahead.
Can I ask your position on how you approach, the recommendation for shelters to work with, best practices?
Sure.
Standards practices, either
Yeah.
national or
Yeah.
statewide, Department of Agriculture?
Yeah, the state of Michigan does have a rescue certification program. It's very new, but one of the things it does is has a best practices handbook for rescue organizations.
But not for shelters.
Not for shelters. It's specifically for rescues, and quite frankly, it holds rescues to a much higher standard than shelters are held to. Shelter best practices are the 11 programs, or the 11 steps, 11 programs to the no-kill equation. There's a website called rescue50.org, and it's literally rescue50.org. That is solely dedicated to shelter reform and best practices for shelters.
But I didn't mean to interrupt, but are you familiar with the best standards and practices and national guidelines from the American Veterinary Association?
Yes, yes. The problem, I don't wanna say it's a problem, it's, very in-depth, very complicated, just trying to get them to read it and then understand it. If you have a shelter vet, a vet who is dedicated to your county shelter, that's what they do, much easier, because they understand it, it's written in their language, it's vaccination protocol, it's all that stuff. If you don't have a shelter vet, you're relying on either your director or the kennel manager to read it and understand it, or you need your board of commissioners to read and understand it and pass policies that are in conjunction with it. That's the hurdle, is getting them to read it and understand it. So we boil it down to the 11 programs, because one of them is veterinary protocol. You've got to vaccinate upon intake, period, you must. I know, everybody laughs. Spay neuter, no animal should walk out the door of a shelter intact, and there's no excuse for it. There's, between veterinarians who are willing to donate their time and money, there are low-cost mobile spay-neuter clinics that will come up here on a weekly basis, work with the shelter, spay-neuter everything they've got, and go back home, and they'll do the vaccines for free. So there are options. It's letting these people, these decision and policymakers know what those options are, how easily they are to incorporate, look at what other communities of the same size and demographics have done. There's no excuse why you guys can't do it too.
And if they don't care,
Then they have to look for new jobs in November.
Just an example of a decision that was made by the commissioners. They're gonna do a rabies clinic at the shelter. They did one last year, and they had the vet that they were working with at the time come in. People could buy their dog licenses, get their rabies shots, get all their vaccines, and a very small portion of it went back to the shelter, but I think they did realize over $10,000. Dr. Roggenbeck offered to do it for free this year. They've gone with someone, they will not get that money this year. They just signed, they just, in essence, made a decision where that money will go into the veterinarian's pocket instead of back to the shelter.
Right,
And that's a decision that a commissioner has clearly made,
right.
and it's against the animals.
Yep.
It's against helping the shelter.
And we let them know that we are now aware that they've made that decision, and we demand to know why that decision was made. We include the media in all of this throughout the whole thing. We let them know what's going on in their community.
they own the media.
Those of you who
It's
think you
personal.
wanna call your commissioners,
It's
if
personal.
you do me a huge favor when you call them, tell them that you think it was wrong that Dr. Roggenbeck and Mrs. McDonald were removed from the Animal Advisory
It
Control
was personal.
Council. It was very personal.
Yeah, it was.
We've been holding their feet to the fire. We've been demanding things from them. It's the first time the Animal Council has ever even actually had to stay at a meeting more than 20 minutes and do a hi, how are you, and walk out the door. And so we've been not reappointed because we're adversarial.
Well, and if their advisory if it's ineffective, whether you guys are on it or not, if it's not actually improving anything, I don't know that I'd bother. I would focus more on,
What we had is we got inside information, and we were making a difference.
Yeah.
We were forcing them and telling them how we felt the money should be being spent. Every time the director would show up, we were asking him about programs that we wanted in place. What do you know about the microchipping? What are you doing about vaccinations? So it was at least something where we were creating an awareness of all the things that were not getting done at the shelter.
It didn't change anything, but it at least brought things front and center.
kept
It didn't change anything.
kept the spotlight on the
Absolutely
issues.
changed nothing on that.
Yep, okay.
And now I think clearly they're gonna appoint people, they're gonna stack the deck so that this whole council can just kind of
Well, they're gonna have a hard time making it disappear when all of a sudden they've got half their community on their doorstep going, we want answers. And we're not gonna go away until you guys give us some answers. What are you doing? What do you plan to do? When do you plan to do it by? How can we help you? And anybody who has to go, please feel free, just make sure you sign up for your voting block and feel free to grab business cards, hand them out like candy on Halloween. The more people who sign up, the better. They can sign up right on our website, right on our Facebook page, or they can fill out pieces of paper, you can fax them to us, and we'll enter them in. We don't care how we get the info, we just need the info. Thanks, guys. Any other questions, issues you guys want to talk about, concerns, anything? Go ahead.
I was just gonna mention something that I had experienced from our local board of commissioners meeting, that in case anyone here might be unaware of it, I'm not a very good public speaker, but it's vitally important for the bodies to show up.
Yes.
What these people usually do that are in charge, when they see a large amount of people, they designate a spokesperson.
Mm-hmm.
And, which is fine, I just wanted everyone to know that, don't be afraid you're gonna show up and, oh, I have to talk, because the
Yeah, you
numbers
don't
are
have to talk.
vitally important, but everyone doesn't have to speak.
Nope, you don't. I mean, literally, bodies in the room
Yes.
gets their attention big time.
Yep.
And even if, gosh, I'll speak, but I don't know what to say, I will hand you a script of, I mean, most are 3-minute max, that's what the
Yeah,
counties give you, you have 3 minutes to speak. We will give you a 3-minute thing you can read if you need to, where we're just saying, I want all of you to understand how important TNR is, and here's what it is. And it's a 3-minute educational snippet on what is TNR. Education's huge, it definitely is. The more they understand, the better informed they are. So yeah, if you're afraid to speak, no big deal. Just show up and bring people with you. Fill the room. In Oakland County, we had for a while, everybody wear purple. We just picked a color, and so that when they looked out, it was like, oh wow. Everybody wearing purple's here for the animal issue. Those 3 people are here for something else. You know, and it does get their attention. So get creative like that. Even if it's a button or have everybody wear a hat, whatever. It's a visual to them that this is not just a couple of people who have an issue. This is really important. Specific examples. One of the things we started doing in Oakland County was we've been coming here now for a year and speaking to you guys. And animals die in between every meeting. So I'm going to start telling you about them. And I would hold up a picture of a dog they killed, and I would tell the story of that dog. And had you guys acted on the last meeting, this dog wouldn't be dead. And the next meeting, okay, here we are again. I'm going to tell you about 2 cats and a dog. They would be alive if you had taken action. And eventually they couldn't take it anymore. And a couple of commissioners pulled us aside and said, what do you need me to do? And we said, we need resolutions that force the shelter to have policies that save animals, not kill lives. And so they introduced a couple of resolutions that force transparency. You got to tell the public how many you're killing, because right now they have no idea. You're hiding it and playing with numbers. So they introduced them and we got them passed. We're working on one right now for TNR because Oakland County is catch and kill. They kill every feral cat brought to their door, and that's our largest, richest county in the state of Michigan. There's absolutely no excuse for it.
Courtney, after we were going there for a while and we were getting nowhere, when we went and introduced the PAC, is when the commissioners
That's when they paid attention. You're right.
paid attention.
It was, yes, between telling the stories and saying, okay, since we're not getting anywhere fast enough, we're now going to take our efforts and we're going to form a political action committee, and we're going to endorse you or not endorse you, and you're going to lose your job. And that's when they came to us and said, can we have a meeting? I want to hear more about this. So it does get their attention, and our voting blocks have got pretty big.
The only place that matters, and that's the voting booth.
That's all they care about. They just want their job. For a lot of these people, it's a power thing. It's their name and their prestige and their, big wig, and they rub elbows with. And there are some who care and really want to see change. They care about their community, or at least that's why they got into it to start with. So we appeal to their greed, and that's their job. And more than money, votes are what will change that. So when we let them know, listen, you guys have the largest voting block in the state, and when we tell them to show up at the polls this fall and to vote for your opponent, they're going to. And there isn't enough you can do to bring out the other side, because animal issues are they're a polarizing issue. They get people together. You have nothing on your platform that's as strong as that on the other side, so you're just gonna lose your job. And they'll usually either start listening, start doing something, or start some movement. So that's what we're here for, and we're just so glad that you guys are here and that it's important to you and that you guys wanna see it change too, because it can be done. There's no need for a shelter to continue to operate like this. Go ahead.
I'm not sure what the state of animal control is now, but I know in the past, they've gone around and collected feral cats. I mean, it's probably something more for the people that are in the rescue business. And I know that Dr. Rodden has a process by which she knows which animals
We
she's,
do the ear tip.
Ear tipping, yeah.
but how do you stop? Like if they're going around collecting animals and they get an ear tip to one, they're still gonna take it, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, how do you make them aware that that's happening, so that they don't go around collecting those animals?
Right, so first thing we wanna know is what's their policy on feral cats? Do you go out and collect, or if the community brings them to you, you'll kill them for them? Do you give them a list of, here's spay-neuter clinics, go TNR them? I mean, what is your policy, how do you operate? Once we have an understanding of what that is, then we ask them to introduce either ordinance, a resolution, change the policy of the shelter, whatever it is, to change that, and there's no reason. First of all, catch and kill doesn't work, ever, 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 it's never gonna work. You would have to kill something like 10,000 cats in a X amount of time to even make a dent, I mean, it's just ridiculous. So we give them the information and the research that shows them what works, we explain why it's an integral part of their, you know, the ecology of this area. Detroit has a huge rat problem, well, you know, you got rid of a lot of your feral cats, among other things. So yeah, that's the first part, is we've gotta research and find out exactly what is the lay of the land, and if they won't hand over their policies, we file FOIAs, Freedom of Information Acts. It's a public shelter, you don't get to hide anything, you have to tell us. So if we have to go that route, we'll file a FOIA, we'll get their policies, and then we'll sit with commissioners and say, why would you have a policy to kill healthy cats? It costs you money, between the hold time, the vet time, the cremation and body removal, all of that costs you money, and you're doing no service to your residents nor the cats. Why wouldn't you incorporate a no-cost program that saves lives that your residents are asking you for? Explain to me, what is your answer? Why won't you do that? And we put them on the record. They don't have an answer.
But there is no policy of the shelter, is there?
Yes,
Oh, yeah.
as a volunteer, I just had asked the road officer, if somebody calls and says, hey, there's a cat hanging around my house, do you go and get it? And he said, no, we do not pick up stray cats.
Most don't.
But we have a lot of people, one in particular this summer, it seems like she was in the shelter every, 4 days out of 6 with a cat. She goes around her neighborhood picking up cats, and they're probably someone's cat that they just let out.
Right.
And,
And the shelter kills them?
no, they're put in the main kennel is where the stray cats go first. And they're kept there for, I believe, 5 business days, weekends don't count, and even as holidays. And then, no, if they're friendly and they're nice, some had collars on them. When there's room up front with, in the adoption room, the next cat gets brought up.
And then they get very, very sick because it's a dirty, filthy shelter, and they just had 66 cats, mass exodus out of there, so.
Yeah.
something was
But
there.
So we
feral
didn't-
cats
So
are
no, they
traditionally
will
kept
not,
on
they
the-
take
Oh,
them in,
yeah.
but they do not go. A compassion, this just happened, a woman had passed away in her house, her mother found her, the police were called, and then they called the shelter, and they came and got the cat.
Yeah, when they're working with the police, situations like
Yes.
that, they'll come out and get them.
And
But
the
for the
mother
most
signed
part,
off on the cat, so she wasn't a stray.
so it was an owner surrender.
Yes, and she was adopted in 3 days.
That's good. But yeah, for the most part, animal control will not go out and round up or trap feral cats. You gotta bring them to them, and then they'll kill them for you.
They're not required by law to even have to take cats.
Yeah, we take them.
Nobody in the state of Michigan is required to take
In fact, our
cats.
last director, when I
Right.
started asking him some questions, because I'd understood that he had incorporated a new policy that if any pregnant cats came in, they were aborting the kittens. And he said, you do realize that if I decide I don't ever wanna take another cat in the building, I don't have to. So you kind of like retract your clause and back off, because you don't want that kind of a decision to affect then every cat, but.
Right, and this is actually, it's a new concept in the shelter world right now. It has to do with cats, because they, boy, of all the animals, they have the biggest uphill battle when it comes to They have the highest kill rates, they have the lowest return to owner rates. People don't tend to come looking for their cats, they don't put collars on them, they don't tend to microchip them. So yeah, cats have a big uphill, and they're so susceptible to disease, just a little bit of stress and you got an upper respiratory infection. So some shelters are refusing to take in cats at all. Like, we don't take in cats because a shelter environment is the worst place for a cat. A cat that is on the street, that is friendly, healthy, not, emaciated, not all tore up, doesn't have the ear tip, not unsocial, a friendly, normal cat. You pick up that cat and take it to an animal shelter, it has a 2% chance of finding its owner. If you leave it alone, it has a 60% chance of finding its owner. So it's a debate right now in the animal welfare world. What do we do about cats? Sheltering is not where they belong, but what do we do? So every shelter is different. There is no state law that requires shelters to take in cats. There's only a dog law.
I have an idea, we have a cat lover start a cat sanctuary.
We have a lot of cat sanctuaries, but they're always full. They can reproduce. Spay neuter. I mean, that's the key.
So I just want to go back, I think, Bridget, you said, so the commissioners are aware you're involved in our community.
Not yet.
Oh.
That's gonna happen. We wanted to meet with you guys first to really find out what are your core issues, because every community is different. And from talking to folks and then this exchange today, it seems that flat out shelter reform is your biggest issue. You don't have any ordinances being introduced right now at the county level that would be negatively affect animals. So it's really shelter reform. So we're gonna focus on that. We are going to introduce ourselves in person at the next Board of Commissioners meeting, but in between now and then, we're gonna send our cover letter and our survey to each of the commissioners, the controller, basically all of your elected officials at the county level. Yeah, no, by the end of January.
And just so you know, I have not heard back on the FOIA that I sent to the Department of Agriculture asking for their, what has actually happened to Kevin Wilkins.
How long ago did you send it? How long did they
I
have?
mailed it on January 19th, and they told me, the initial thing that I did said that it would take at least 5 days for them to even get to it.
They have 30
Okay.
to respond.
So.
So yeah, what they'll do is drag their feet, and on day 29, they'll look at it.
All too familiar with all.
And then they can ask for a 10-day extension, which they will do. But that's okay. The Department of Ag knows us. They know we don't go away. And we'll file FOIAs until they're blind. So we'll send our letter and introduce ourselves to, we need to pull a list of all of your elected officials. Like in some cases, chiefs of police are elected and some they're appointed. We just need to get our arms around your entire list. We'll send our letter and our survey to let them know we're here and we want to work with them and see what kind of response we get back, and then we start tracking each one of them. If we get a response back, wow, that's great, I'd love to meet with you guys, I'm really interested in this, we'll take them up on that offer, and they're in the so far so good column. People we never hear from and kind of just tell us to go away, not so good column. And then we follow them until, and then their action items, and then we're able to tell their residents, here's why we want to vote this person out. Now, one of the things we were talking about kind of before we officially got started is we need people to run against these people. So keep your ears open for people who are either politically minded, or I'll tell you what, sometimes you can bluff them and get a pretty impactful response. So we had a community where we really needed somebody to go up against the commissioner, even just as a veiled threat. And so they filed their name, paid their $100 filing fee, and said, okay, my name's on the ballot, I'm going against you in November. That person freaked out so bad that they couldn't even concentrate on their own campaign. I mean, just the idea that they'd run unopposed for so long, they just walk into their seat every November that they're up. The fact that they were gonna have to campaign against someone, they have to organize new ads, and it just completely destroyed them. So sometimes a bluff works too, just them knowing that they've got people that they have to run against. But that's important, because if we have somebody who's just horrible, this is a dog killing place, and I want it to be a dog killing place, it's gonna stay a dog killing place, without a candidate to run against them and oppose them, we can do all the threats we want with voting blocks and stuff, but if there isn't an opponent, that's part of the problem. So keep your ears open, talk to people, and it's a scary concept for some of us, political office, but some people maybe, I could do that job and I'd be really good at it. So you just never know. Talk to people. And if you hear anything, let Deidre know.
If people want to, the easiest way, 2 easy ways I'll give you to find out who your commissioner is. One, you go to SagamorCounty.com, their page opens up, number, all their contact information.
Call all of them.
Yeah.
Don't even worry about who your specific person is. Now, to meet with them face to face, you wanna meet with your specific person. But when you are doing the whole, I am a Saginaw County resident, I'm talking to all of you guys, so feel free to email every single one of them, call every single one of them. It doesn't, don't worry so much about you're not my specific person. Let them all know. But if you wanna do the 15 minutes of coffee, contact your specific district person. And at the city level, it's the same concept. But yeah, for Saginaw County, call them all.
Have you ever seen any of the change.org petitions that would be beneficial? Cause I
Cha-
think they get to a point, I know that somebody in this area did one way back before this director,
Yeah.
even the last one. And I think because it's such a repetitive process.
Yeah.
That they keep getting the same email, they finally just wise up and throw it in their spam folder and they
Yeah.
never read them again.
It's part of the problem with it is that you get inundated with those when you're, especially if you're very active in animal advocacy or anything. So yeah, it starts to be like, just white
So it'd be
noise.
far better off if you have an issue just to give them a sample of something that they
Yeah.
can write and send an actual
Yeah.
email or a letter.
We really only see the petitions be effective when we're trying to remove somebody from office. And we've got to collect signatures and show, that the community is taking this very seriously and they need to see, you know, a serious number of people. For things like this, policy changes and stuff, change.org isn't quite as effective,
Okay.
but if we had to oust somebody, we might wanna go that route. But you guys, that's the hardest part, and you don't have to deal with that at this point, so that's one reason, time's of the essence, let's move quickly. We'll send them a job description of what they should be looking for in their new county director, and offer to help set up a process where they need qualified community members involved, see what kind of response we get. And our communication will be with Deidre, since she's your county captain, so we'll be letting her know what kind of responses we're getting, and she'll be letting us know what she's hearing from you guys. But anyone can contact us anytime, questions, concerns, we're all about community. These kinds of grassroots efforts only work if everybody works together, and the more people, the better. Good? All right, you guys, we're gonna kick some ass, take some names.